Hi everyone, today we are going to continue doing electron configurations, and I'm going to show you a little shortcut that's going to help you do these electron configurations. You don't have to memorize the order anymore, so some of you were wondering, is there an easier way to do these? Do I have to memorize the order in which to fill these electrons? So here's one method you can do. You can set up this diagonal. So we've got 1s here, 2s here, 3s, 4s, 5s. Then you move on to the p block, 2p, 3p, 4p, 5p. And then you actually read this diagonally, like so. You can certainly do this method, but you'd have to create this table every time. And I honestly don't think it's the best method. So this is actually the best method. The periodic table is actually set up in a way that helps with electron configurations. So if you recall, how many electrons could the s block hold? S orbital can hold 2. So basically, let's see if I can highlight. This whole block here is what we call the s block. And notice there's 2 columns because s can hold 2. What about over here, the p? Well, same thing. The p could hold 6. Notice how many spots we have here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we can actually use this to just count and figure out our electron configurations. And then lastly, what about the D block? What was the maximum there? 10. So again, there are 10 spots in this middle section. So the periodic table actually corresponds to our electron configurations. And so I'm going to show you exactly how we can use this to our advantage. Okay. We're going to skip these, not too important. So let's practice using the periodic table here. And we're going to look at chlorine. So first step, you want to find this element on the periodic table. So this table, if I found chlorine, it's going to be in this square here. Okay, so I've colored the square it's in. So how do we do electron configurations using this table? Well, first, what do we always start with? 1s. Okay, so how many goes in the s orbital? Well, we've got 2. So we start with the first row here, and it's always 1s, 2. So basically what I'm doing is I'm counting off. 1s2 gets me across the first 2 elements here. What comes next? 2s. And how many elements can fit in the s block? Again, 2s1, 2s2. I keep going until I reach my element. So what comes after 2s? Well, if I look over on my periodic table, I see that it's going to be 2p. Remember that these numbers in front represent the energy level. And if you recall how many electrons can fit in the p orbital, well, if you forget, we can just count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2p6. So that gets me all the way across the first 2 rows. And then I go down to my third row. What comes after that? 3s. And again, 3s1, 3s2, we get 2 electrons there. And we keep going until we land on chlorine. So chlorine is going to be in 3p. And then I just count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 3p5. And that'll take me all the way to chlorine, which is what I wanted. And you can always double check your answers by counting the electrons. So here I have 17 electrons, which is the same number of electrons as chlorine. So let's try with a periodic table. Again, if you have a periodic table, this is what I recommend you do. Highlight the different sections here. So this is your S block, and you might even call it S. This is our D block, and this is our P block. So I'm just going to highlight different colors. Again, I would recommend you do the same thing that I'm doing here. To just highlight the different blocks on your periodic table. And that'll make this a lot easier. So let's go ahead and try silicon. So I find silicon on my periodic table, and next I read the periodic table from left to right until you land on your element. So again, if it helps you, you might want to put the energy levels on the side here. So we always start with 1s. So 1s2, sorry, this is actually part of the S block. Helium is part of the S block. So 1s2 gets me all the way to helium. And then I keep reading. What comes after? 2. And then this is the S block. So I always know that it's going to come after. And then 2 electrons can go there. That takes me there. I want to go across. We're still in the second energy level here. But now we've reached the P block. So 2p. And again, you just count. 2p1, 2p2, 2p3, 2p4, 2p5, 2p6. That's all filled up. And I still haven't reached silicon, so I'm going to keep going to my third energy level down here. And again, 3, and then S block. How many electrons can fit there? Well, we can just count. 3s1, 3s2. What comes after the 3s? 3p. And then we just go until we reach silicon. So that's going to be 3p1, and then we reach silicon on 3p2. Again, you can check your answers by counting the number of electrons. Here you'll find that we do indeed get 14 electrons. Okay, so use the periodic table to your advantage. This way you don't have to memorize the order. So again, if you feel inclined to do so, I recommend you highlight your periodic table. And then you've got your P block here. So again, we have our S block down here. We have the D block in the middle, and then our P block here. So let's do a couple more examples. We've got nickel here. So nickel is going to be right here, atomic number 28. So let's go through this one together. Again, start always at 1s, 2, and again, these are the energy levels that might help you. After that, so 1s2 gets me through helium. After that, I've got 2, and again, this is the S block. 2 electrons can fit there. I keep going. What's after 2s? I'm in the second energy level, and now I'm at the P block. 2p1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way through. After that, I go to the third energy level down here. 3s2. I'm going to go through this a little quickly now. After 3s is 3p. I'm going to go through all of it. So 3p6. Get all the way to the fourth energy level. 4s2. We're running out of space here. And then we get to this block. Remember, the D block actually starts as 3D. So just be careful. This one's a little different. So we have the 3D1, 3D2, 3D3, 3D4, 5, 6, 7, and 3D8. It's going to be 3D8, and that's your answer for nickel. Okay, so basically, again, you just read the periodic table and the different sections until you get to the element you're trying to get to. Let's do one last example. Arsenic. Make sure you get the hang of this. Find your element, and we start with 1s2. That takes us to helium. 2s2. That's this block here. What comes after that? 2p6. After 2p6, 3s2. And then we want to go through the 3p block, 3p6. Now I'm on my fourth energy level for s2. I want to get through the entire d block here. So that's going to be 3d10. And then lastly, I'm in my 4p, and I can just count 1, 2, 3, 4p, 3. Okay, and that's how you use the periodic table to help you with electron configurations. We'll practice this some more, but make sure you're trying to do that. It may help you to highlight your own periodic tables at home and label them. Good luck, and make sure you ask me some questions when we go over this.